Good evening, this is Shay Gibson with iKitesurf and Weather Flow. It is Thursday, May the 26th, about 9:30 p.m. and this is a preliminary forecast for the Collegiate Kiteboarding Association Championships that are going to be held in the Outer Banks from this Saturday, May the 28th through June the 4th. So the big question is going to be, is there going to be enough wind to hold all of these events? So we're going to look at that. One thing to keep in mind is that we are looking at a tropical system, a possible subtropical or tropical storm development off of the southeast coast, which is going to have major impact on Georgia, South Carolina, and North Carolina as far as what the winds are going to be doing. So Outer Banks, North Carolina being further north removed from this system may be outside of the gradient where the winds would be actually elevated. But let's take a look at some of the things right now. What we have from the National Hurricane Center tonight at 7:40, they issued their latest update, which brings that possibility of happening to 80% in the next 48 hours and 80% over the next 5 days. So it looks like things are going to progress a little bit faster, and they're a little bit more confident in the forecast that the system could come together and be called or be named Bonnie, which case we don't know if it's going to be tropical storm or subtropical storm Bonnie yet at this rate, but it is moving into an area more favorable for development, more conducive for development. So we're going to be keeping an eye on that. What does it mean for the Outer Banks? Well, what we typically look for in these kind of systems is what the wind field is out extending around it. So here's the area of rotation right now of low pressure that's trying to come together. It has some upper shear going on right now, but it's going to be moving out into this area where there's less shear. There's a trough diving down and then lifting back up through this area, providing that shear. And here's the trough axis. Once it actually enters this area where there's less shear aloft, it actually has a better chance at organizing to develop into a storm or named storm because the warmer Gulf Stream water is coming up through this area right here. So it's going to be moving into a more favorable environment with warmer waters, and as the low comes up into this area, the winds are going counterclockwise around it. So the tighter the system, the less of a wind field and gradient is extended out beyond that. We have high pressure out here, Bermuda high, that's going to be building, and it's going to keep this easterly or southeasterly gradient through the area around this low pressure. So that's one thing to be thinking about is, we have this sort of wind field going this direction. We have high pressure out here building the winds in this direction. Is there going to be a strong enough gradient along the Outer Banks to get the winds up? We just don't know yet because this system is expected to remain a little bit more compact to the south versus some of those more broad subtropical storms that we've seen in the past, with the wind field extending really far out, and you get a nice old gradient built between these Bermuda highs and those lows. So it's very, very hard to tell. One way we can take a quick peek is through modeling, and this is the Euro model for Sunday. Actually, let me back this out to Friday, and then we see Saturday. We see a slight gradient, maybe 10 knots on the east or east-northeasterly flow for the Outer Banks here. As we go in time, we see that gradient relax for Saturday in this area, and we see the wind barbs here only showing 10 knots. This is the Euro model, so the Euro model is really not the best for local winds or for some of these areas like this. It really does more with these systems in general and some of the system patterns and this troughing and whatnot. So these numbers could be a little bit different. I just want to aim for some information over the area. So if we look at Saturday in the afternoon and then we go into Sunday, Sunday morning, this is 12Z, which means 7 a.m. We see that a little bit of a gradient starts to build right here and here along southeast North Carolina, and here's your high pressure out here, and this gradient really is going to be stronger out in this general direction, or in this kind of zone where that troughing comes down, pulls back up. So the gradient really is going to be more offshore out here, and if it does build into the coastline, we may see some higher numbers. But for right now, it doesn't look like it's going to build into that area on Sunday, but into Monday, as this low hangs on the middle South Carolina coast, we could see a gradient build in this direction as this high pressure sort of eases back to the west a little bit. It brings the gradient closer to the coastline. You can see the zone here, 25 knots, 20 knots over here on the western side, and 20 knots on the eastern side. And this zone right here down the middle is going to be where most of that wind is going to lie. There's also a chance for rain to be pulled up over the area as well, wrapping around this low pressure and between this high pressure. So rains are going to be a big deal up through North Carolina through the life of this system, at least, probably more so than some parts of South Carolina. I think we may have more of an atmospheric river pulling up over this area. So lots of rains in the forecast for just about every part of Georgia, South Carolina, and even up into North Carolina. Let's take a quick peek at, let's see, Monday as we go into Tuesday. Now, when we get this far out, models start to become more erroneous, so we don't really know, but the suggestion is that this system will start lifting up through North Carolina, and then as you get into Tuesday and Wednesday, the gradient will increase as the system lifts, and you keep these southerly winds. They're going to be variable directions, so you're going to be toggling between southeast and southwest. You don't really know until the system nears the area, but with that does come additional rains. Now, if there's drier air being funneled down from the Appalachians and around it, you could get some drying area around the core of the system, and then these clouds break up, so there's less rain, and you're left with really just a lot of wind around and low pressure. So that's kind of a possibility. Now, the other model I wanted to run is the GFS. So I want to take a quick peek at that, at least for the rain factor. And it does bring the system in towards the coastline, but it actually holds it down to the south a little bit longer. So you can see this one, it's actually weaker than what the Euro was showing, and it holds it down to the south, and it sort of dissipates over time. The gradient does relax over the area. The rain becomes a more dominant feature to the north and up into North Carolina, and then maybe as far as Tuesday and Wednesday, if that system does stay to the south, we could get a little southerly sea breeze element moving back up again like a normal pattern with this low pressure so far moved to the south. At this point, it's getting a little too far out for the model to actually be correct on what the solution is for this low not doing anything. I think it will probably move on around this Bermuda high that's sitting out here. There's going to be a pattern unless this ridge above it holds it down and suppresses it. That's what the GFS is showing. So we actually could see a northeast wind bite down through the area as far as Tuesday and as early as Tuesday and Wednesday. There's a lot of mix up in the models between the southerly flow from the Bermuda high and this ridge working down from the north. That's going to be the trick. So as far as Saturday and Sunday, if we kind of put it in a nutshell, I don't even want to run the models from Wind Alert right now because you can check those out. The big question is, are we going to have enough of a gradient to build winds in to rideable speeds in the Outer Banks? And I just don't think it's going to happen on Saturday. I think we're going to be kind of in washout mode between Saturday night and Sunday. Sunday has some opportunity, but I think your best opportunity is going to happen Monday when the low is actually on the move and you get the high pressure and the gradient between the two pulling those winds up. So that's it for now. I think I'll try to come back on tomorrow and do a better update and sort of walk it day to day with this event, and maybe throw a couple of tidbits out for the forecast for each day. It's just too far in time, even 2 days away from now with the system looming in the distance. It makes it very hard for a wind forecast anywhere in that area. So until then, just don't cancel plans to go. We still could get some wind. There could be some gift wind for all we know. But until then, I'll be back on tomorrow to give an update, and thanks for watching. Talk to you soon.